This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
What about now, my friend?
Oh, dude, you nailed it, bro. Thank you. You fixed it.
So what I will say is this, is good teams find ways to win. Bad teams find ways to lose. What are the Heat right now? We know what they are right now. Big O, for years, this is what the Heat did to other teams. This is when the Heat, remember how you were talking about the Heat would fool around and then they find a way and it was disconcerting, but they had the arrogance of success to know they could pull it off.
Right.
Now the Heat's the team that's getting victimized. Think about this 9-game losing streak. Duncan Robinson steps out of bounds in Cleveland when he hits the tying three-pointer that started this 9-game losing streak. Bam Adebayo shoots a jumper. Eric Spoelstra thinks he's fouled. No whistle. Why? Because the losing teams don't get whistles. So you wind up having games like this where you don't get the breaks that winning team gets. You know, losing builds upon itself, and you can see it going away. 12-point lead early. 8-point lead again in the fourth quarter, and still not good enough. It's a crisis of confidence, and it comes at the worst time. Or, Big O, it reveals who you are.
Right. And that's where it leads me to the point I brought up earlier this week. It's interesting, or irony, whatever you want to call it. This is the team that never wanted to blow things up. This is the team that wants to avoid resetting. This is the team that wants to get put on a Band-Aid and fix it and get back on track. Well, guess what? Indirectly, they might have just dug themselves into the abyss where they have no choice but to reset, because they have really nothing to really build on and say, oh, we're really a player away. Even this team, the way it looks right now, oh my God, it needs an overhaul. It just needs an overhaul. You can't keep coming back with the same group. It's run its course. And so you really look at it, what Pat Riley wanted to avoid, they kind of have negotiated their way into that position.
But they haven't. And here's why.
Oh,
because if you want to rebuild and you want to reset, how do you do it? Let's look at last night's Detroit Pistons. Yeah. Cade Cunningham, a number 1 draft choice. Although he didn't play, Jaden Ivey, a top 5 pick. John Duran, a top 10 lottery pick. You go up and down their roster. They had 5 abysmal years. Was it a 27-game losing streak they had? It was awful. But they kept picking and picking and picking, and then all of a sudden, a small addition like Malik Beasley can make a difference because you have those core of lottery picks. Look at what Cleveland is right now. Don't kid yourself. Cleveland is what they are, one, because of a package of picks they were able to send to Utah for Donovan Mitchell, plus the picks they made that gave them an all-star forward, that gave them another all-star guard alongside in Mobley and Garland, because Cleveland was was hot garbage after LeBron left the second time. So you have to be willing to do that.
And they did the same thing after he left. They went back into the shithole.
And that's how they got the roster that lured him back. Absolutely.
Right, they got Kyrie Irving.
They got the pick that was Andrew Wiggins that they traded for Kevin Love. So LeBron wanted to come back the first time when he left the Heat in 2014.
Right.
Big O, 2 of the next 4 Heat first-round picks are gone. They're in the wind. There's no recouping them. There's no regaining them. 2 of them can be unprotected lottery picks. You can't go to the draft well for resurrection unless you're willing to consistently go to the draft well. And here's the deal in the town that is ours. I'm not so sure South Florida, that until recent years had been let down for really 20 years by the Panthers, that has been let down for 40 years by the Marlins, is willing to put up with
you
5
mean the Dolphins,
years.
by the way. You mean the Dolphins, 40
Well, the Dolphins have been competitive at least. I didn't know they haven't won a
play.
playoff game.
The Marlins are better than the Dolphins. The Marlins at least
over that streak. But we know what the Marlins have been the last 5, 8, 10 years.
I know, but at least they won 2 titles in 97 and 03.
What I'm trying to say is I don't think South Florida will tolerate 5 consecutive years of hot garbage. The places that tolerate that, Oklahoma City, what else are you going to do? Go to the rodeo? San Antonio, what else are you going to do? Common theme, go to the rodeo? And even a place like Detroit, it's Hockey Town, USA. People were more concerned about their Red Wings than they were when the Pistons went into the crapper. So they were able to play that game also. I don't think the Heat can do 5 years of hot, flaming turd. I don't think this market will support it, and I think they know that.
I know, but you're already a hot flaming turd.
No, you're a hot lottery turd. You're a hot play-in turd. You're a hot number 8 seed turd.
But it's like True Fin Fan just put on the chat board on the in a super chat he sent in. What's the difference? 39-31, sixth in the East. You're not going anywhere, which he's right. Whether they like it or not, their best option. What do you want to do? Just be mediocre? You got no shot at a title anyways. So you're still better off bottoming out and trying. And the years that you do have the lottery pick, then you better hit on those. But to go throw money away and go overpay for people that then you're stuck with for several years, I don't think that makes any sense. Like what you did with Dion Waiters and Whiteside and all that. And just
those contracts went away. It's more the Terry Rozier and the recent moves you make where we're looking for that instant guy. And yet, Big O, let's face it, and we talk about this all the time in our Accurate Pembroke Pines report. Let's face it. If Kevin Durant comes to market, you know the Heat will try to be involved. And you can say to yourself, wait, Ira, 37, 38 years old, isn't that lipstick on a pig, Band-Aid on a wound? And I get all of that.
Yes.
That's who they are and what they feel they have to be, because their thought is we're already paying all this money to Bam Adebayo. We're already paying all this money to Tyler Hero even before the extension.
But trade his ass. Trade his ass for picks. And the 2 years that you do have a first rounder, be shitty so you can get really good players.
Orlando Alzugaray.
Why are you going to get Kevin Durant to play into the middle of the conference again, not win anything, and still have pick number 22 that you gave away, whatever, but you're not really going anywhere, and you're really about championships. But until you really reset the apron stuff and all that, it screwed them. It's over. They cannot do business the way they used to. They cannot. And so since you cannot go that way, you got to go the other way. If not, you just keep putting lipstick on the pig.
And Big O, are you telling me you've been in this market for decades on end that South Florida will willingly tolerate 24 wins, then 30 wins, then 32 wins, then 34 wins? But look, we got all these draft choices and now we're fine. Do you think
it'll suck? But you put yourself in this position. Let me give you an example that you will not want to touch, but I don't care, right? Because I don't care about either side. Okay, we've had Democrats try to run our government. We've tried Republicans try to run our government, right? Nobody's done the crazy shit that Trump's tried to do now, pare down the entire government so we can have less spending and all that. Will it work? I have no idea. Will the tariffs work? I have no idea, but nobody's tried it. And everything else they've tried has failed. So you're trying something else. Well, it's like the Miami Heat. You keep running into a wall now. You're drunk over your overachievements during the Jimmy Butler era, where the world was perfect in 1 year in a bubble, and the other where you had Embiid and Giannis injured, and the stars aligned for you to overachieve. You're really not that good. It's the dude on the sidelines. You got to reset. And if you keep doing this, the next two picks that you will have, they're going to be picking in the middle of the first round, and that's not going to do you any good. Now you're hoping for a Jovic luckiness. You're hoping for a Shea Gilgeous. You're hoping for something that will fall out of the regular lottery and into the middle of the first round, late first round, second round. That's what you're hoping for. You're hoping to get lucky now at this point. And, only Pharrell Williams gets lucky.
I think this will all happen organically. Like we said at the top of this, you are who you are. Bad things happen to bad teams. Losses will continue. It's not going to suddenly stop. When you play the Warriors next week, it's not going to stop. Even when you play the Hawks next week, it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop when you go to Boston. You are who you are. So what'll happen whether you're trying or whether you're not trying? What I'm saying is they haven't set up the deck chairs. The one thing you and I know, when it came to 2010.
Great line.
They set up the deck chairs, right? They knew they were going to be awful with our favorite Kasip Pals and Stefan Lasmes and Blake Aherns and all those guys because they had things lined up. They don't have things lined up. There is one way, according to Orlando Alzugaray, they can line things up. You can trade Tyler Hero for picks and you can trade Bam Adebayo for picks. Okay. You can do that. You could probably wind up with a total of at least 5 first-round picks. You can get back in the rebuilding game there. and it will take as years as being bad as Detroit, who has burned through 4 coaches in recent years. You will be bad as the Cleveland teams were with LeBron until they wound up getting Donovan Mitchell and came back together. I would say it would take at least 4 years of unabashed horribility for the Heat to go that route and build it back up.
The only thing I would disagree with is you're not going to go through the coaches because your foundation is set. Spo is set. He'll understand. He'll probably understand the bigger picture when it's all said and done. And now you can kind of clean the slate and start anew with, fresh faces and then build the picks up so you can actually go out and do what you can. And by the way, your draft and development nowadays is exceptional. So now,
you're collecting other teams' picks. So if the Heat are crappy, you don't get your pick in 2 of the next 4 years. They have absolutely sabotaged themselves with the way they made those trades, especially deferring the pick to Oklahoma City, number 1, and 2, making the Terry Rozier trade. And you know what?
Stop doing that.
You can stop doing that.
Stop being the drug addict.
And for 2 of the next 4 years, you have to live with the pain.
Stop it already.
And then you have to live with the pain.
Yeah, but yes, you live with the pain, dude. It's all right. But you know what's worse than living with the pain is actually denial is worse than living with the pain, because you have now put yourself in a position where you can't get out of it. And if you try to get out of it, you're only going to put yourself deeper into the abyss. And so the only way out is really to clean slate this thing. And you talk to your fan base and you say, hey, man, it's going to get rough. But I actually think you've built up enough love through this fan base that if there's a fan base that will deal with it, I think it's the Heat fan base. Are you going to lose some ticket base? Yeah. Are you going to lose some interest? Yeah. But I think people will be excited about the fact that you're getting out of this rut. And then if you get a load of picks, there's something now to look forward to down the line because your draft and development is exceptional. Start using that. You have the best coach in the business. You need to kind of clean the slate. And Ira, this is embarrassing. This is the softest Heat team I've seen in forever.
No, I wrote about that today. I may ask Ira. Someone said, who are the Heat's dogs? And I said, it's really hard to name one. I mean, you got a guy like Pelle Larsson who plays hard, but he barely plays.
The little guard is a badass. He just can't score, but the little guard is a badass.
Right, but I'm saying, but still, you have guys who don't play enough. You have guys like Hayward Highsmith who tries to play that role, but that's not who he is. Bam's not that guy. He's a nice guy. I mean, he's a mama's guy. That's who he is and who we expect. The whole Heat mantra thing doesn't exist anymore. Yes, there is culture, the culture of caring, but there's not the culture of meanest and toughest and nastiest. And no, not on this team. You bring them all home to mom, to introduce, to their daughter. Yeah.
Amen. Exactly. Amen. There are no James Posies. There are no Keith Askins. There are no Alonzo Mournings. Yeah. There are no Shane Battiers. Shane Battier was, sure, he can hang with you, on an IQ level. But then when he got on the floor, the dude was as a dog as anybody else, and he would play defense.
And Jimmy Butler was that also.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Jimmy Butler was that also.
Jimmy Butler has kind of that street edge to him already as it is, whereas Shane Battier is a cultured man. But he's a cultured man that knows how to play the man's game, too, at the same time, which it's like P.J. Brown. You know, like P.J. is as gentleman as it gets, dude, off the court. Mm-hmm. On the court, he was a son of a bitch. He knew it. He had to play one way. He knew it. And his tall, skinny ass, you saw him and you thought, oh, I can push this guy around. No, you can't, bro. No, you can't. And so, there's not a lot of that on this team at all. And
you either need to find that or redefine who you are. Maybe you don't need to be that way. Finesse teams can win also with great finesse players, so you have to decide who you are.
Yeah, but now you're talking the Steph and the Clay. You're talking when you're going to play like that, you have to be so elite on the perimeter and so clutch too, which is, again, this is not a team that's clutch either at the same time. In key moments, this team doesn't step up when it's pressured. That's the other thing that you notice here in this law.
They did during the Butler era, though. Jimmy did, even Tyler did back then. But now it's changed, and just everything's just fallen off a cliff. So again, is it a 1-year thing, or like to you, is this a 3-4-year thing, even with the trip to the finals, where you feel you have to make the break? We'll see.
Yeah, and then we have to deal with the silliness, like Kendrick Perkins coming out. Oh, Riley's got to step down. And look, does Riley have to adjust? I'm the first guy to say, come on, Riley's man. Come on, man. You know, you got to call your shot. Today's your 80th birthday, and I get it, but he's got to do a little looking in the mirror.
He's got to be better. He's got to be better. All he has to do is be better. And you know what? We should have expectations of Pat Riley because who he is and what he has done. There's nothing wrong with having expectations.
Of course not. Okay, now the Zion thing. Is this like the Heat Nation getting desperate, or is there thought of that even in the Heat organization that they would make this kind of a move? Because again, a desperate organization, you're going to count on a person who has proven to be absolutely unreliable from day one.
Right? Move if for the right player. Would you give up Bam? No. Would you give up Tyler? No. If you can give up other packages and not picks, maybe. And look, it's a Heat type of move. You know, the one thing is when you look back at the Luka Doncic thing, in retrospect, would you have offered Bam Adebayo if they called? I think you would have.
Yes.
So my thing is, if Pat Riley is as connected as he always was, could he have at least gotten wind of that? Now, we know that the Mavericks are saying no. It was a singular deal for Anthony Davis, but you have to still keep your eye out for that possibility because I still think those kind of possibilities will be there, but it has to be the smart move with the right player.
You know, True FinFan threw out another super chat. He goes, 30 years of excellence. I'll go 5 bad to rebuild, which, I mean, we can't be selfish and self-centered about that. What Riley and Arison have given us for the last quarter century, we're super freaking spoiled, dude. Come on.
And it's one thing to pay $1.95 for the super chat, and another thing to buy a season ticket. So it's almost like I would like to see this. I would like to see some sort of Heat pledge line like a telethon. If you rebuild, we will buy season tickets. Let's get 19,000 on the Big O chat to say they will. Then he can go ahead and do it. But for all the $1.95 super chatters, my question is, are you willing to buy 43 games worth of season tickets to see that?
Okay, so my counter is, aren't you already going to be on pace to start losing season ticket holders because they see what's going on?
But they can see what's going on and still see you win even half your home games as opposed to a quarter of your home games. It's a difference. People like to go to a building and go home after a win.
Yeah, man. But God, I don't know. And what would you think the Zion move? There's any truth to that stuff?
Well, I don't think there's anything to it right now because David Griffin has to salvage the franchise to salvage his job. So he has to bring back some type of whale or super young player who he feels can make into the next Zion. But man, with his injury history, just think what the Heat just did. They just basically gave up on a player who was missing a quarter of every season because they felt he wasn't worthy of an extension. So now you're going to bring in a player who was missed half of every season or more. You gave up on Jimmy because you felt he wasn't playing enough. And now you're going to look at a guy who doesn't play at all. That would be a tough one.
I would never make that move in a million years at this point. All right. So the confidence in this team, you're in that locker room. I hear you asking the questions. How does this team even get out of this funk? Because I'm looking at 13 games and I just went through the schedule and I'm like, if they win 3, they're fortunate down this. The way they're playing, they might go 3.
Okay, well, if you want to do that, they probably have more than 3 wins for this reason. I know they lost to them last time, but they have Charlotte on Sunday. They have 2 games in Washington, 2 games against the Sixers. Teams desperately trying to lose. Then you have New Orleans at the end of the season. You might have 6 accidental wins along the way just because of teams are trying to outmaneuver you. As a matter of fact, the Chicago game, when they play in Chicago the final week, the final road trip of the season, that might be a how low can you go game. It looks like they're going to be in the 9-10 play-in. So basically, the Heat can decide their own lottery fate. Remember, those games don't count in the standings. The Heat lose 1 of the 2, they go back to being seeded where they were at the end of the regular season. So they really can have a say. But we know the Heat. We know even Friday night, they're going to come out against Houston, and they're going to come out playing to try to win.
All right. What do you got going on in the Sentinel so folks can check you out?
Wrote my column about Pat Riley, and enough with the age and turning 80. There's plenty of people out there. We're seeing plenty in movies. Christopher Walken might never have been more popular than he is right now at the moment with the projects he's on. I just saw Paul McCartney on the Saturday Night Live reunion belting one out. It's not about the age. It's about getting it done, whether you're an octogenarian or a septuagenarian, but you have to do more. Big O, since the Miami Heat acquired Goran Dragic in 2015, a decade ago, the only A-list veteran they've acquired is Jimmy Butler.
I know.
You've gotten supporting players, P.J. Tucker, Andre Iguodala, Jay Crowder, maybe even you could put in there Kyle Lowry, but I need Pat Riley to go back to being Pat Riley because before this third decade with him in Miami, he was Alonzo Mourning, Tim Hardaway, Shaquille O'Neal, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, Mike Miller, Ray Allen, just Shane Battier, just over and over being able to do that. I don't care if you're 80. I don't care if you're 90. Get the job done. If you're going to hold that job, you've shown you can do that job. You've shown the vigor to stand up to Jimmy Butler's BS and hold your ground. Now go back to who you were, and we'll see, based on merit, where we stand with that.
Okay, I disagree with Perkins on firing Riley, that he should step down or whatever. I'm also with you. He's not 80, and he's not he's not Mitch McConnell or Feinstein that are, like way past the, and they shouldn't be there.
Or a former president of ours, right?
Or a former president of ours that was practically half dead and leading the country. If you're telling me that, then yeah, Riley should step down. He's not. He's like a 50-year-old, bro. He is alert and fiery and ready to go and all that good stuff. But here's where I'm going to give Perk a half a point on his point on Riley and all that might be out of tune. It's right about this. The GMs around the league are young. It's like a different wave that's going on.
And the Heat have a lot of people to deal with that. And Andy Ellisberg is going to crunch the numbers anyway. And if you know what?
Who calls all the young GMs around to start the conversations then?
Andy Ellisberg or Adam Simon or Pat Riley can make the calls. Okay. You know what, Big O? When you buy a quality product at a store, you don't ask how old the owner of the store is. When you eat a quality meal in the restaurant, you don't ask how old the chef is. So if the Heat have the food and the Heat have the product, they can make a deal. Yeah, Pat Riley doesn't have to worry about who's taking his call or not. He has to have the product.
But there's a difference nowadays. Back 20 and 30 and 40 years ago, Pat Riley he knew all the people in the front offices, all the coaches, because he had been in the business already for decades as a player, as an assistant coach, and then as a head coach, and now as a general manager. So he got to know all these people. Now, decades later, there's a whole new wave of people that he doesn't even know as players or as coaches or as front office people.
Know who Pat Riley is.
I know they know him, but the connection is not the same. Whereas
that's a guy like Kendrick Perkins who doesn't know any better. That's not how it works. How it works is you have a product and you go to the market and you test it. You're not schmoozing. Pat Riley went to the Lakers because they wanted to interview him for being coach, and he came back with Shaquille O'Neal. You know what you want, you target what you want, you put your offer on the table. No one's playing the role of, hey, let's be besties. Pat Riley will make a deal with Danny Ainge if it benefits his team, even if they're not besties. That's how you operate a franchise. I totally disagree with that.
Well, the numbers geek and the fashionista in LA, they kind of became best of buds and kept this crazy deal under wraps where, most of the NBA wasn't even a part of it.
It was one of the worst deals in NBA history. So.
I'm not. Hey, listen, I want the Heat to be a part of that. I mean, unfortunately, we've been on the other side of it with some of these bad deals. I'd like to be a part of the Luka Doncic trade.
And they still can be. And it's not because of how old Pat Riley is.
There's got to be a little connection there that there's got to be a disconnect there from his age to some of these young guys. There has to be.
I just disagree. They know who he is. They know the phone number to call. They know the phone number to text. They know the emails to send.
And in this conversation, did you not just say, when was the last time Pat Riley brought a whale?
Yeah. He's absolutely,
and it's been
not
Wade,
because
and
of
it's
his
been
age. It's
Wade.
because of what he's had to offer. That's
No, it's Wade that's brought the whales lately. He hasn't brought one probably since Shaq.
No, I'm not buying that. He had the assets lined up in 2010 to get the deal done. He had the assets and the cap space lined up in 2019.
In 2010, my brother, Bosch and LeBron forced him to make trades for him when they could have signed with them outright.
Nope. They made the moves ahead of time.
They wanted they wanted the bird rights.
And they would have had bird rights anyway by the end of the contract. They wanted the extra year they never got. In retrospect, that was a mistake. So they forced their hand too much. That had nothing to do with who Pat Riley was. That was the desperation to close a deal. And they got to the NBA Finals 4 times and won 2 championships.
I mean, if you got some power, you say, hey, guys, why would I trade for you guys? I can just sign you guys. You can come on over. I can use these picks so I can improve the team. That's how you use when you have juice. You tell them, no, you come like what we're seeing with the Panthers. All their stars are taking less to accommodate, to stay there all together, and they're all sacrificing. These guys really didn't sacrifice like they say so much. They made them you hurt your own team by forcing them to give up picks that can hurt you, that can help you. And that's why you had Mike Bibby your first year, because you didn't have resources, because of course you forced them to give up the picks. I'm gonna disagree with you on that one. I think Pat Riley has lost some juice.
All right, to be continued next week.
You don't think he has lost some juice?
I do not.
Okay. All right. All right. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat, and of course, catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel or subscribe. Ira, as always, thank you, my friend. We will catch up next week.
We will pick up the argument then. Thank you, Big O.
You got it, my friend. Thank you, sir. That is Ira Winderman and Acura Pembroke Pines. They have got it going on right now. They've got a little more juice than Pat Riley right now. You know, they're the number 1 volume sales dealership here in the Southeast United States. Pat Riley isn't number 1 in anything right now in the NBA. So, yeah, he's lost some juice. But Larry Schlossberg, he's got all the juice. And you can spring into performance. Sales have been going on right now. The all-new ADX. Have you seen it? Have you checked it out? You can get it for $359 a month at the number 1 Acura dealer in the USA, baby. The Integra 2025 model, $339 a month. The ZDX, $439 a month. And by the way, that Integra, you can get 3.9% financing for 60 months. The ZDX, $439 a month, 0% financing for 72 months. That ZDX, by the way, A-spec, by the way, you can get it for 2024 model. The 2025 RDX, my wife drives one every day. You can get it $399 a month. And the MDX Tech, that thing is like a spaceship. We'll take $10,000 off the MSRP. Get on down to 15601 Pines Boulevard, just off of I-75 in Pines. Finest dealership in the business. There's no better Acura dealership in the business than Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.